but a week. Hello. I was just explaining to everyone that, just a sec, I'm just going to let the waiting room come in. Can you all hear me? Perfect. Yep, sorry. It is absolutely freezing here, so I have about 8 layers of clothing. Okay, so what I was explaining is there will be a few clients here today. The recording, I've worked out how to put it up on YouTube in an unlisted, so only those people who have access, I limit who can access the video. So I will, after this, put the recording up there so it's easier for you to find rather than downloading it and uploading it and all of that. So just be patient with me and I will get that there. So it was 1 minute, so let me just get everything set up, and if there's any questions or any problems, you know you can always ask. The focus is really on upper limb today, and in particular on hands and shoulders, okay? Just a sec. Oh my goodness. The Queenslanders. We need to go there. I'm probably on the heater too. That's all right. Come on through, guys. And is there anything I need to know about your hands, Anna? No? This is your little set. Thank you. How are you doing? Other than freezing. Oh, don't be. 4 degrees. Don't be. It's a lovely time. Okay. So there's just a few people walking in the door, so they're all coming in and they're taking layers off. When you're from Australia, you're not used to heat or being cold, to be honest. So it's Emma, is it? Yes. And this is the last name. Sorry? Pulesi. Pulesi. Sorry. Grab a board. Okay. So I'm just going to start. Grab a board. Like there's little sets here ready for you. So grab 1, 2, 3. Just one set each. So just so you know, the Zooms. This isn't publicly shared. It's only those. I will share the recording with you if you'd like to later. Okay. So what we're doing today is we're looking at upper limbs. Hold it, yeah, okay. Lucy, you can grab my pen. Okay. So what I want us to sort of think about is there's our hands, our elbows, and our shoulders. Okay. You're going, wow, Carla, you taught me a lot today. What I want us to think about is our hands are really important for our daily living. Okay. If you can't do a button up, you can't feed yourself, you're in real trouble. But also our hands inform our shoulders. And so this class is about understanding how our hands and shoulders interact and about how do we do simple work to build up to strength work, okay? So the first thing I want you all to do is just put your arms up in the air. Don't judge it, just note it. Is there a restriction? Is it easy? It's all doable, no pain. If there, see? I'm tough. Tough. Okay. So star jumps. Okay, no. So just check that. Now, what can happen is many people can just get to this point and they don't have any range in their arm because they've got frozen shoulder. Now I want you to do the test, the bracelet test. Can you put your hands behind you? Yeah? Good. So everyone here is pretty good. So that range is the first thing I'd always be looking for. Now, the next thing I want us to do is think about our hands and think about how we do that. Now, what I want us to understand is that what this movement here is called grip. And there are 6 main types of grip that we work with, okay? There's the let me grab a cup grip. You know what I'm talking about? That is called a conical grip, okay? And then there's let me open a jar. That's a spherical grip. Then there's let me hold a handbag. That's a hook, or a shopping bag. That's a hook grip. Okay? Now when you do that, all of that has a real impact on your forearms. And they are what we would call power grips. And then there's what we call precision grips. There's let me hold a pen. Not that many people do that anymore, but it's still an important skill set. Yes, good work, Annie. And there's let's hold a pen. There's let's do a button up. That's another form of precision grip. Then there's let us hold our mobile phone, which is this sort of grip. It's called a lumbrical grip. And those grips are really important, and very often when you're doing this sort of work, you lose that sort of grip because all you're working in is what we would call half flexion. Okay, so have a look at your hands. Can you do that? Spread your fingers as widely as you can. Beautiful. Any pain from that? No. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add a few more things. I want you to do Google eyes. Oh, sorry, let me just do this so that you don't have the, Google eyes. Tuck a finger under your chin. Take your hands off. That's okay. Oh, finally, something somebody can't do. You must be going to a Google Eyes studio. Yeah, so just take it down. So that's like a little ulnar nerve stretch, okay? So, and it also means your wrist mobility has to be strong. Next thing I'm going to ask you is how many of you have trouble being on 4-point kneel, so in hand?
Yeah, sometimes.
And what do you think causes where
My wrist.
your wrist?
Yeah, and also my hand.
It feels really tight in your hands.
Yeah, I've got
Dupuytren's contracture.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, Dupuytren's contracture is also known as Viking's disease. It's a particular genetic condition by people from Bosnia and people of Viking heritage. More likely to have it, not saying at all, but it's there. What it means is that there's like a little contraction. Can I use your hand as an example? So you'll see, here's one we prepared earlier. You might not be able to see that really well, but you can see like this little tightening of the fascia and skin here. And it's like this really hard to grip, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's weirdly getting better since I was first diagnosed, which they said wasn't possible, but
Keeping it mobile is important. And it's, as a result, this type of contraction you'll see in people, and then the hands come into a clawing sort of position. And you can also get it in your feet. I know, don't say that. And often people will have surgeries to overcome this. And so that sort of contracture, you'll also see that sort of contracture or problems in people with scleroderma, which is a tightening of the fascia, and the hands come into a claw shape. And if you hold your hand in a really tight claw shape, stop and think about what the implications will be for that. Yeah, if your hand's like that, the struggle is to then extend your fingers. Yeah, so if you hold that and see, straightening your fingers is hard. People post-stroke and a lot of neurological conditions also come into what you would call that claw shaping. So you'll see people with cerebral palsy, people, they come into that real clawing or what you would call a flexor synergy. Extension of all our limbs, so that means like in the arms, straightening out your hand, straightening out your arm, or even straightening out your back is what you would a really challenging thing as you get older, because our body is naturally in flexion, and as we get older, we create like nerve pathways to inhibit flexion through extension. And so when we have damage, the inhibition goes and we go into flexion. So just remember, old people have no filter. They do. They're no longer inhibited, okay? So, but that, as a result, working on extension is part of what we need to do. And it's one of the reasons why I'm not a great fan of people constantly just gripping to power grip. So what I want us to look at is some little ideas on how we can build our hand strength. I want you to grab a pod. So one of the round black things, okay? And what I'm going to get you to do is, first of all, just put your finger in the loop, okay? And I want you to just put your hands there and just wrap your fingers around. Now, you. So just feel it. You can hold it with both hands for a second. What I want you to see is Lauren, Erin's her sister. Come closer. So you guys
I
come
thought
closer and
it
see. See, this is me like trying to reverse park. So what you can see is her joints are quite long, and you can see how that thumb is sort of squaring out. So if I'll just change that for a sec, when you see my hand, you can see that bone can sit nice and flat, whilst this one, her thumb sits sort of in a square out. And what we're wanting to do is avoid that positioning. It's like a bunion of the hands, and very often here. So if I just take your hands for a sec, get it together. Is this your worst? You better, yeah. So when you see Lauren's hand here, you can see what we would call as a squaring off. So you can see that squaring off there. So it should be normally, it's okay. It should be sort of a softer, rounder shape here. Now that squaring off that you'll see in people with arthritis is because the base of your thumb has moved out slightly. And so this is one of the areas that are a really common point for arthritis. So when you look at that, yeah, that's good. So what we're wanting to do, and I'm just going to show you, I'm just going to get a bright coloured one so you can see the contrast. So for someone like, can you put that back in, please, before I break your hand? I'm sorry. So what I would do for someone like Lauren, or people there, can you see I've just put the little middle Makalru dome? For some people, I might put the smaller dome there, so that she's got her thumb in a more supported position. Can you see what I'm talking about? So it's not sort of squaring off and gripping. Can you feel the difference? Yeah, you need one there too. And you might go, oh, but I'm young, I don't need this. And I'm going, it starts now. It starts now. So if you grab one of the domes, if you think you need it, okay? And for some people I might even, so for Lauren, I'd even put one on her little fingers here, okay? So I'll just get a bright coloured one for you. Okay, so I'm going to put this one on this side for you and this one on that side. Okay, so see there. And so now what you can see, can you feel that in your hands? Can you see how your fingers are now in a long and open position? Feels different, doesn't it? Grip your other hand and so put your hands down and have one hand gripped and one hand in that long position. Can you feel how it's sort of easier? Okay, and then what you'll do, you know what the feeling is, don't you? So now what I'm going to get you all to do is now look at your wrist itself, okay? So our neutral position of our wrist is, come here please. So your neutral position of your wrist, you need to wear bright colours so people can see. It's not cocked like that, so it's not like this. It's sort of in a long position, so your wrist is going to sort of wrap around that. And the idea is that your hand is then going to be holding it, so the circle's just facing inwards. That's what you would call a neutral wrist position. So when you're lying down, it's like that, okay? How's that feel? Smiling. Sorry, I'm just going to move this around so you can see. So what we're going to do is from here, so just so you don't feel like you're lifting, I'm going to get you to lift this arm up and just keep that weight there. And what we're doing is really trying to keep your hands in the open position, working on lumbrical strength. So lumbricals are these really tiny muscles in our hands that help extend our fingers. It's quite hard. It gets heavy pretty quickly, isn't it? This is only 750 grams. Okay. But can you feel now that it's coming into your shoulder? Because what we're trying to do is strengthen your grip in your hand, and instead of gripping into there, which makes our forearm muscles work, because all the hand muscles, all our little hand muscles, big hand muscles, originate in the forearm, and then the tendons attached to our fingers. So we don't want to grip the forearm. It's like saying, let's grip up your calf muscles to strengthen your feet. So we want to get our hands strong to support the shoulder, just like we want to support our feet to support our hips. So look at you all. It's hard, isn't it? Okay, now just take down. So I like to do this lying down as well, so that you can then feel the shoulder drop down in there. So if you want to do that later, or if you want to go lie down, you can. But now just take that off and just change hands. And before you start on the other hand, just stop and feel that shoulder. Yeah, that shoulder's changed position. So look at there. So you can see. I wish people wouldn't wear black. Yes. Can I teach you how to wear bright colours? So this shoulder has dropped right back now, hasn't it? And I can feel that in there. So do the other side. Okay. Sorry.
It's a touch of colour.
Yeah. They're laughing at the pink lotus because my husband said, "Oh, you know, what colours do you think we should have?" And I said, "Oh, magenta." And then about a month later, he comes home and he goes, "I've got something pink for you." And I'm thinking, "Oh, some diamonds, pink diamonds." And no, I got a magenta lotus instead. But I'm gonna like it. So now let's do the other side. So what I like to often do is do this because not only are we strengthening the intrinsic muscles of our hands, we're also supporting our shoulder. And if you do it lying down, I'd like to do one arm, and down. So can I use you as a model? Yeah. Sure. I'm just going to show you a way that I would do this lying down so that you could understand. This shoulder has an implication on the opposite hip. So often when somebody's complaining about a hip problem, if you're okay with that, yes. Often when they're complaining about a hip problem, you'll see the shoulder rolls through, or the shoulder and you'll see the hip. So you can't, because we do Pilates, you can't just do the shoulders. Is this okay, guys? Are you learning? Okay. I hope you weren't coming to expect a burnout workout. If you want to feel it, I'll come and help you, okay?
There's a pile of nuts there.
So, that's some cushion.
I know, right?
Okay, so can you see me here? So what I'm going to do is work on Lauren's hip to shoulder through really simple stuff that you know in Pilates. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the pod on top of underneath the pedal, and you're just going to put your foot on there. Okay, so I'm going to make her go into a little bit of a wobble. Okay, so let's just take your arm up in the air. Hold that there in your neutral position. Okay, can you just lift the camera up? Yeah, just lift it up, just a smidge. Yeah, good. Okay. Now, so you can see her hands in that neutral position. You're going to do a pelvic curl now. Because her foot is on the pod, she's working more on this hamstring. Can you feel that?
Okay.
What I'm going to do is just so that you can see it a bit more. So you can see that her foot is on here. So what I'm trying to get her to do is really work up and down, so you can roll up and down. And it's a bit wobbly. So I'm careful about how much challenge to proprioception I'm going to give somebody. But at the same time, it's moderately stable. It's not a wild ball shape, which is rolling around too much. I'm giving her just enough proprioceptive challenge that she can still stabilise. How's that feel?
Nice.
Okay, so before we change sides, I do need a cinematic director, I have to admit. Now roll back down for a moment. Yeah, so let's just put your hand down for a sec. I'm going to take that away. Yeah, nice. Can you feel how this hip has just dropped? And the opposite shoulder is more open. So you might not see that, so I'm just going to try and... Can you see that can you point that hip and the opposite shoulder is just a little bit more open. So if you want to go and try that, and we'll go through that there. So before you change, I'm going to give you all one more thing so you can try it and feel it. So I'll let you leave this there. You can do it without the wobble as well, but I'm going to get you to take this arm up. And what you'll see is, now I've started her in neutral, now we're going to spiral. What I'm going to get is that little humeral spin. So she's turning her shoulder into external rotation, the humeral head, and she's just going to take her hand over. Oh my gosh. I can feel this beautiful little shake happening in her arm. So if you want to go, yeah, I think you can just 2 more. But when you take your arm up, it's not that you just keep it static. You start with it facing round. It's almost like you're bringing a plane in, okay? Nice. Really nice look. Can you feel that? Yeah. That weight gets really heavy really quickly.
Very close to your face too.
Yeah, but the advantage is that because it's foam on the outside, if you do drop it, you're not going to hurt yourself, in theory. There's always going to be someone who's going to push it to the envelope. You want to lie on a mat and I'll set you up and I'll come and help. So try it, feel it. Any questions from you on the Zooms from that while they're just getting themselves onto the floor? Yes, Shannon.
Yes, question.
I can't hear you. Sorry, just a sec.
Hi, can you hear me?
Just let me get my glasses and I'll see what I've done. Grab yourself a mat, throw yourself somewhere and I'll... There, sorry Shannon. Can you?
Hi. I just wondered, I don't have a pod. Can I be doing it with the lotus?
Use the lotus. And what I would suggest is that for the lotus is to hold your hand around the timber and first of all start with no weight on, okay? So you can add or grade the weighting, but if you've got somebody who has a tendinopathy or a sort of a shoulder problem or a wrist, leave that one on there. Oh yeah. What you'll find is that if you push the weight too fast, if you make them go too fast, they'll end up backwards. They'll do more damage to the tendon. So I don't know if you're familiar with the Malliaris and Cook work around tendon recovery. If you're not, have a look.
I'm only in block 1.
Okay. It's okay. Have a look on my website, Shannon, and on the website you'll see a blog called Love Me Tendon. And in that thing, even though it talks about glute med tendinopathies, the same principles apply a lot to the tendinopathies of the hand. There's a few little differences, but it talks about the fact that there is a Goldilocks zone of recovery, and that you slowly reduce the amount of load until someone can tolerate it without pain. Just a sec, I've just got to pick on someone. So if you want to hold the thing for you, if you've got the Makalru, hold it around the edge with no weight, and lift it up and down, and then try it with just one dome on there to see what that implication is.
Yeah.
Beautiful, feel that. And then up, is that, and around.
Yes, that's what I'm That's serious. So when you add the pelvic curl on,
Nice.
Really nice. Can you feel that? You can feel that little wobble on your foot. Nice.
good. How did you go with the pelvic curl?
You feel what I'm talking about? That graded weight?
Yep, I can, yeah.
And it's one of the... Sorry, Shannon?
No, Erin does this with me quite a bit, so I'm semi-familiar with.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
As you said, what you'll see often people with tendon, especially shoulder things, is that they'll go straight to this weight, go to that weight, and they just keep re-damaging the tendon. It isn't giving it enough time to repair.
Yep.
Remembering that tendons do not, it is hard. That's why you're at Pilates. It's one of the reasons, if you think of it, tendons are that white colour, really glistening white. So they have very little vascularity. That means very little blood supply to heal. And it's why it takes so long to recover. And when you're trying to get them to the healing process, you're needing to give them enough load to do what we call lay down fibres, what they call fibroblasts, to repair themselves.
Yeah.
You want them to lay down the fibroblasts in what's called an organised manner. So if you overload it and the body doesn't know how to do it, they start to lay down, it's like, stitching on clothing, and it's never as strong in that sense. And so this is why you're very specific about the angle that you're moving it in and the order that you do it in, okay? I know I sound pedantic about this, but shoulder and hand injuries is something I see so much of, and why we're going slow on this, okay? How's that feel? It's heavy. Do you want to change sides? Now, one of the things that I'm noticing with a few people when they do this, listen, one of the things that I notice a few of you are having trouble with when you're doing this is what we would call the supination and getting that real movement in the elbow. So what I'm seeing is people going halfway. And if you stand up for a sec, and just come up for a sec, put your arm out, there's supination, and there's pronation. Now, those movements are really hard for some people, and they come from the elbow and the forearm. Now, supination is what's necessary for biceps. So the bicep is a supinator. And your tricep is a pronator. So when you were going over your head like that, your bicep was working and tricep were working. So supination there. Now what happens is people get so tight in their forearm doing this, they can't do this. Can you feel, could some of you, I know you had that, yeah, you're in that half. I feel like Mr. Smith from The Matrix. Come here. So let me, do you mind? Sorry, let's just put your arm out. Thank you. And so you can, now you do it. Fear is a great. So she was like there, okay. So what we're wanting to do is start you with your elbow in, and we're just going to get you to try and do that way. Yeah, can you feel that turning over? And you'll see this is a problem for a lot of people. So one of the things that I like to do is to help people get that supination, pronation, is, let's just put your hand, hold that there and there, either side. So the first thing we're going to do, just to help it, is to actually work on getting the range in the wrist. So all of you grab your little pod if you can. If you've got the Makalru base, grab the Makalru base. But what you're going to do is you're just going to, almost like you're driving a bus. Yeah? I don't know what driving a bus is like, but a big steering wheel, okay? So you're just moving it there, nice. Can you feel that stretch through here and through here, okay? So remember, all of those muscles come to your wrists and then they come into your fingers and they become really long tendons. And some of the little muscles, like the lumbricals I'm talking about, they attach into those tendons, which means if these tendons are inflamed, you can't get these working either. So there's this double hookup. Yep, lovely. How's that feel? Then what we're going to do is going to take this hand off. Now I'll support the elbow, so it's nice to do this on, on a table to start with. And you're just going to use the weight. Yeah, beautiful. And then you're going to let it roll. Oh yeah, now I can feel the travel there. Can you feel that? So let me show you. So it goes from there to there. It's really hard, I get it, but just, so We'll hold it like that to start with. So we just want to get a little bit there. Now, eventually we're going to start it like this, but we'll just do a little bit there just to help that movement. And then what we'll do is we're going to start with your hand in that neutral position, and then you're going to move it up and around. Nice work. It's hard, isn't it? So if this weight is too much to start with, can I have a stick, please? No, it's not for you. At home, I had a wooden spoon. Thank you. Like a stirring spoon, and I built it up a little bit, and I had it all taped up like this. And my son and my husband go, "What's that for?" Because they were thinking like someone was going to get smacked. But it's like a spoon for arthritic hands. But what you generally do when you've got people who are really restricted in supination and pronation, and remembering that supination is something that you will see a loss of that movement in people post-stroke or with a lot of neurological conditions. So also a lot of people post a scaphoid fracture. So when you fall, it's very common to fall and land on your wrist. And the scaphoid bone is there and the radial bone here. And it's very common for people to fall and break that bone, okay? And when they do, they lose this supination, pronation. So what you start with is like the stick, yeah, much easier now, isn't it? It's more manageable. But what I would want you to do is to build that up to a weight like that. So I'll generally do that. So a nice way to do this as well, like I use this, is a hammer. And what you do is you start with the hammer here, because that's the weight. And then you move from there down. Feel that? So all of you want to hold the pod and just move it from side to side. Okay, how's that feel now?
Greater range.
Greater range, yeah. Do you want to go and lie over there and try doing the pod thing as well? So this, I know I sound like I'm being really pedantic, but this little detail is part of what we're wanting to get on. Yeah, nice. How's that feel? So then, yeah, which is part of what we want. The other thing that I'm going to get you to do is to hold it like that. Like that. And you're just going to go like this and like this. It's hard, isn't it? Yeah. And you're opening your wrist up that way, okay? And then like that and like that. Okay. When I was working in the hospital in the neuro unit, it was amazing how little people could do. And you could see how much loss people had in their hands. And some of it was because of neurological conditions, but some of it was because of arthritis. And so my view is that at any time, we could have a catastrophic injury or illness. And our job is not to be, my view is not that everyone needs to run a marathon. My job is that we want to be able to be mobile and dexterous for as long as we can in our life. And the more strength we have now, those little bits of strength are the hardest bits to build on. Can you feel that? Look at you, you all got really quiet. If you've just got the Makalru base, let me just grab that for you. What I do, might even, so you can see I've just put the little dome on there to fix it, and you might do it that way as well. It's actually lighter, but we want to be strong, don't we? Okay, so just do that, nice. And the supination, pronation, and programming it to go up. And and you can see all the work, whether it be with the base or the pebble, is aimed at having your hands in a really opened position, because you can feel those muscles at the back working, can't you? How's that feeling on your hands?
That hand's actually fine, but yeah, it feels fine.
Good. And we want to keep that as open as possible. Everyone with me so far? Shannon, you've gone for full ball with all 3 domes. It's quite heavy, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, you've got a hollow one. Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Nice. You can hold it there. If your fingers can't hold, see that even you holding it like that really is stretching out your fingers, isn't it? So if that's the case, that's too much for your hands. What I would do is get you to do it. Oh, sorry, can you just turn that around? So if that's too much because of the contracture, I'm going to get that. I'm just going to show you the alternative. You could start with just the empty dome like that too. When people are really in a...
Yeah, that's a bit gentler.
Yeah, it is gentler. So you might start with that. And then what we do is progress it to that. Okay. We can always progress. Pilates is a continuum. Okay, so stop checking on your hands. How they feel?
Stretched and tired.
Yeah, tired. It's amazing how hard it is. But now I'd like you all to go into 4-point kneeling and check in on how that feels for you from a 4-point kneeling perspective. Just check how that feels. Do you have more room in your wrist?
Yes.
Yeah, good. And there. Nice. Now, what I'm going to get you all to do is that what I'm seeing is people with very polite fingers. All your fingers are like this, okay? Let's go to rude fingers and have our little fingers starry out. And what I'd like you to do is feel like you're coming up onto your fingertips just a little bit. So almost feel like your fingertips are dragging up. Not necessarily just coming up. Let me just bring it down so I can work with you. Can you all see me? You understand what I'm doing? So it's not that I just go like that. What I want to do is this very slow crawl. So I come back onto the base of that scaphoid that I was talking about before, and I'm trying to crawl my fingers up. Now, what you can see here is, see these little joints here? Can you see those? Just bring it further. So you can see here, if you want to come over, you can, this is called your dip or your distal interphalangeal joint. So many words. There's an exam at the end, everybody. There's an exam at the end. Now, these dips can end up a very common area for arthritis. And again, if your fingertip is dropping down a little bit like that, it's that the joint is dropping. And therefore you're loading up the joint. So anyone got a little cyst on there here? I didn't look at everyone's hands. So sometimes you'll see like a little cyst forming here, like a little bowl, and that's called a mucosoid cyst, okay? And that's a sign, it's like a little damage to the joint, okay? And when that happens, it's a sign of really significant arthritic change. So everyone, what I want you to think of is that every joint in our body is looking for alignment. So not collapsing there is part of what I'm looking for. So can I have base there, please? So I know I sound pedantic, but your old hands will thank me, okay? Future poo. So what I've done here is I've put a hand around the dome. Can you see how that means that you can work into those bit more? So if you want to try that, and see how that feeling is, and now feel like the very tips of your fingers are pressing in, and now you're lifting or suctioning this off that dome. See if you can lift that up. Yeah, can you feel how hard that is? You're welcome, okay? So have a feel, see if you can get that suctioning off. See how you then, now she's trying to sneak into her interphalangeals and going like that little spider thing. Once again, we're not wanting to do that. We're wanting to think of the fingers as that nice circular thing. Hence the reason why I put your hands in the pod so that you, can I have the pod, please? Yeah, just the pod, just the domey, the foamy bit. Yeah, thank you. It's one of the reasons why I like you to work on here. See how it then supports your fingers that way? And that's what I'm trying to get you to do, is to get that sense of openness. Like I was showing you earlier with Lauren. Take your hand off there now, though, and put your fingers down on there and see if you can suction up now, just gently. Yeah, good. Can you feel how hard that is in the intrinsic muscles of your hand? Now, just put both hands there on there and just see if you can come up onto your hands. 4 point nearly. Yeah. Take your hands a bit wider, actually. A bit wider. And difference in this hand to this hand now, isn't it? It feels lighter, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then this is what I want us to get. I want us people to be able to strengthen their hands, but it's a slow process, okay? Now, how's that feel? Is that okay in your hands?
Yep.
So sometimes I think we can learn a lot from children when it comes to hands and shoulders. Hannah, you have a little son now. If you've got access to a child, I don't suggest you go up to a random lady in the street, but you never know. Okay, so when you look at children's hands, they can put their hands flat on the ground. Because children have a hand called the carpal bones, sorry. And there's these little bones in there and you'll feel them. Now, when babies are born, they've just got little bones in their hands. And these bones, as they get older, like all their bones, get bigger and bigger. Bone, this big one, which is the last of the hand bones to move, to get strong, doesn't actually fully get to it close to a right size until about 5 or 6. 5 in girls, 6 in boys. So yeah, boys are always a bit slower in so many things. Love my son, but that scaphoid bone is a really important bone for all of our fine motor details. And it's one of the reasons why when you see children, they have so much trouble holding pens. It's not because they're being mean, it's because they really don't have the bone or joint integrity yet to hold it. So when don't let them do all sorts of things like Play-Doh and things like that to build the muscle strength. The bone will come. So, children will really have much better control in their hands. Although I would say in Asian cultures, because you've got chopsticks, they develop that control much earlier, but you still have slightly adapted chopsticks for little children, don't you? Do you want to? Is there
Yes,
a way?
we have.
Yeah, and how are they built up a bit?
Yes.
They're wrapped a bit, so that's part of the reason why you have that. So don't think that it's just a natural thing. I remember my aunt is Japanese, and we always had these little special chopsticks as kids when we went to Auntie Mo's place. So what I want you to remember is that when we look at hands, just because a kid puts their hand flat doesn't mean you have to. But what we're wanting children to do and adults is to build the strength of their hands. Okay, so we're wanting to get that strength happening. Now, part of the reason why I've got all these toys is as ways to support you and get that there. The other thing that I want you to remember is when you look at children, do you see how when they're crawling, and it's that 4-point kneeling sensation that supports them to organise the shoulder. So when you have shoulder problems, that what we call closed chain, pressing your hands into the floor or into a wall if you can't get down on your hands and knees, is part of what we're trying to do, is we're trying to get this idea of getting the shoulder connecting in. Now, one of the best things to do with little kids for them to get their shoulder strength is, you know that wheelbarrow game? Yeah. Yeah, when you hold their legs and their hands. Do you want me to, can I use you as a model? I'm just going to show you.
Oh yeah.
You'll see what I mean. Okay. There we are. There. And you see, I've got my legs in the air, walk forward, they can't see anything. Yeah. See, I'm holding there. Okay. Yeah, but can you see, as adults, we call that a plank. Woo. And we have our thing. But so little kids, that's what you're doing that for, is to actually help your shoulders. And so I know that Erin hates planks. And it's
way more fun.
yeah, it's way more fun. It's actually really good because you've got to use your hand strength as adults.
Trust building.
Trust building. So that we want to get your arms strong, and it's not just that we're just doing it for the core. The core is so unimportant in the broader picture. The core will turn on when the rest of our limbs are organised. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? So the first thing I want us to think about then is that when we're talking about hands and knees and doing any of that 4-point positioning, we're trying to organise our shoulders in a very specific way. So it's not that our hands are close together. What we're wanting to do is you all put your hands out like that. I want your hands a little bit wider, please. So it's almost like a little bit of a Y. So if you come here and you go into your shoulder, you'll feel a little bone. It's called the coracoid process. And that bone is part of your scapula. So the part of the scapula that comes to the forward part. And to all where your pec muscles attach. So your coracoid process, and there's a bicep, coracoid bicep. Now, if you bring your hands too close together, you'll feel that muscle contracting, can't you? And what that means is, as that muscle contracts, the scapula is pulled forward. And when I say forward, it pulls up and comes over here, and you lose what we call subacromial space. The teachers, I expect to know this. The rest of you, if you don't know, don't stress. But that subacromial space is an area in which there's lots of muscles, like our rotator cuff muscles come through, our bicep tendon comes through, and there's a lot of nerves and bursts that come through. So when we lose this subacromial space, we also do damage to a lot of muscles, and we get a lot of tendon problems. So my first thing is that your hands are wider when you put them down. So if you all go into 4-point kneeling, please, and I want you to have your hands just as wide as the mat. Go into your little lifting of your hands, get your arches working. And then what I want you to do is think that we're going to drop your elbow out to the side and roll it in. So you're going to drop the elbows out, and then you're going to roll the hands in, the arms in. So when I say the arms, up here in the shoulder blades. So there, so you're going to drop that in, and we spin the humeral head into socket. Yeah, can you feel that? Can you feel that? So it's not that we're locking them, we're just coming into there. Nice. Okay, and that little spin or sit is what we're wanting. Okay, because you can feel it, can't you? And from there, you can then start to think about putting the load in by coming up to plank or things like that. But that shoulder feels set, doesn't it? Yeah. But it doesn't feel grippy or tight. And that's what I'm wanting you to understand. It's not about it's not grip, it's not burn. It's called connection because it means that your joint is sitting in the optimal point. That alignment of each joint from your fingertips, so your little, what were these called again? Your dips. Yeah. So every one of those joints have to be sort of sitting in place. And we want to get that alignment all the way through, and all of a sudden the shoulder feels delicious. Is that all right? Delicious. So we've done all of that deep connection work. Everything's sort of turned on, and then we think about loading. So for instance, we'll load you into 4-point kneeling by taking your weight into your hands, lifting your legs up, putting your bottom up in the air. That's all that gravity impact. But we also might want to add load by getting you to lift things, because ultimately we have to lift the shopping or the children or whatever it is. And that's what I'm looking for. I want you to be strong for everything, okay? I want you to be that little old lady. Like, I always laugh. I train many years ago, because I look like a little middle-aged lady, and well, I am a little middle-aged lady, a little bit tubby, kind of happy, but I had to go and train these Olympic weightlifters. And they're all there, and they're so strong and they're big bulky, and they look at me and going, what can little chubby one do? I had them shaking in 1 minute. Because all of a sudden they had to work, and they just like looked at me with such respect, and I went, my work here is done. And I want you to be those little old ladies that can just walk the shopping in and be independent and go, yes, you can carry it, because you don't need them to carry it. You just want them to do it because it's nice to control the men. So what we're going to do is add a little bit of load. Okay, so let me get a stick. Another good stick. What kind of a stick? Like one of the sticks from the Wonder Chair is always helpful. I have broomsticks at home because, you've got to park the transport somewhere. But what I want you to do is grab your stick and grab a stick and chop, 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 chop. So we're going to do it without any weight. Then as you get better and stronger, we're going to add the load. And I slip the pod on like that because I can keep it in a more, sort of feels like a fishing thing. So what we're going to do, what's your name again? Emma. Emma. So Emma, I'm going to use your non-Dupuytren's hand, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So can you come right here? Yeah. So what I'm going to get you to do, I want you to all look. I'm just going to show you where I want the stick to start with. That's not the way your hand's going to be. So see where the base of your fingertips are? It's just on the underneath there on the actual palm of the hand. Can you feel that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you're then going to start with your hand. Fingers are going to be long. And what you're going to do is you're going to curl the fingers, not the fingers, sorry, the base of the fingers. So this part here is going to lift, yeah, nice. Can you feel that? Mm-hmm. You're cheating a little bit.
Am I?
You're going into your wrist a bit, and I get that. We'll get to the wrist. The wrist turns up, yeah, nice. Okay. Feel how strong that is on your hand. Yeah. So, yeah, just a normal stick. You okay? Bring it down a little bit so you don't have to hold into your shoulder too much. Okay, yeah. Try to keep your fingers long. And it's almost like you're just curling. Yeah. Can you feel that working here? It's the deep muscles. Yeah. Yeah, good. Feel that. It's hard, isn't it?
Such a cheater. I just feel like
yeah, so it's hard. Now, they're what we call our pad muscles. Okay? And these are our dabs. Okay, pads and dabs. So our pads are our palmar adductor muscles. So they're the muscles that help us bring our fingers together. Okay? And you can feel they're really important for that hook type grip, for handling your shoulder. So, bit harder now, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. So if you want to add a little weight, you do. So all I've done is just, yeah, good work. Feel that. Okay, so the pads, they adduct. And the dabs are the dorsal or the back abductors of the fingers. Not the thumb. The thumb isn't one. Just this. Yeah, if you can keep your thumb out. Yeah, good. We're just going
So
to
the thumb shouldn't be touching?
Your thumb can just be relaxed, okay. There's a whole heap of work. Oi. Don't make me come over there. Come on, let's come here.
Oh, that's
Swap you out.
Yep.
So it's hard, isn't it? Do it on your own hand.
You're not using your thumb.
Yeah. So you can see what she's. Oh, sorry. You can see how she's sort of hinging there. Okay. Now, I don't mind a little bit of flexion, but I don't want it to be at a sharp angle. Think of this for a sec. Rest your hands for a sec. Think of your fingers, each of our joints, as like an ice cream cone. The bit close to your torso, the proximal part we call it, is like the cone. The joint on top is an ice cream. And we don't want the ice cream to melt out over the side. So we want to keep that cone in, not like that sharp angle, but we wanted to see if we can lengthen it out just a little. Okay, so yeah. Yeah, good. Can you feel the difference? Really brings, so this bit here, so when you're flexing like that, into that really sharp bit, that is working your lumbricals. Okay, so they go like that. So your lumbrical muscles flex here proximally, these knuckle ones, and they extend these fingers here. So I don't mind if that was your purpose to do this that way. I'm going to take the weight off for you. So I would say that's probably a nicer way to strengthen your lumbricals, the mobile phone here. Yeah. This one, its purpose is to strengthen your pads. Your pads. So that's why you're wanting it. Yeah, nice. Can you feel the difference? It seems really strange. But then if you think about that, that's the muscles that we need for our hook grip. That's the muscles we need to carry our handbags. Okay? And they're the ones that will then support those joints. Is that making sense for you all? I know I'm sounding naggy, but it's like there's a lot of detail in the hands. And the reason why I use the stick, the Makalru lotus, and the pods in particular is that I'm wanting you to build that strength. Now, if you, let me take this. Sorry, I can't remember anyone's name by now, so that's all right. But I'll remember your hands. Is that all right? So what I've done is I've just put the metal pod there, so you can see your hands there more like that. So if you want to grab that, it gets pretty strong pretty quick, doesn't it? So, but what I'm going to do is turn your hand around the other way, and I'm going to put this here so your thumb comes out of the picture. So can you see now it's a bit easier? Now can you see though, she wants to splay her fingers out. Pads, remember? Pads mean that you're adducting. Dabs mean you're adducting. So fingers there. Yeah, nice. That gets pretty strong pretty quick, doesn't it? Now you're going to do that and just lift that up. Yeah. Whoa. I know. Just give us a weight. You know, just let's go to the weightlifting thing, because all of a sudden it just feels so easy, doesn't it? Because you're just going with momentum. Okay, so we're wanting to get that little bit of stability, yeah. And then if you turn around, and we can see what you're doing on there. So you can see that she's supporting the thumb again on the other side. And so she's got a narrow thing. So you can use the pod, or this might be another thing. And the advantage of this is that this is part of, because of the board, I can add a weight. Yeah, it gets hard very quickly. And I can graduate that weight to build strength. Yeah, nice work. Does that make sense, everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, it's because I'm wanting to get that strength of the hand that I've gone so precise with this. Is that going okay in your hand?
Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yeah, so I'm doing all this hand stuff today, and I have been working on my hands, but just the way you've explained it, I'm doing it a lot better than what I normally.
Yeah.
But I can feel like a lot of things happening in my pelvic floor.
Yes, that's good. Yeah, because your hands, feed your periphery, okay?
Right.
So it's your toes and your fingers. When you use that, when you get that arch working, those arches of your hand, because they've got arches just like your feet do, when you get those arches working, you're working a diaphragm. And so our body has all of these diaphragms. So there's diaphragm of your hand, there's a diaphragm of your throat, diaphragm here, diaphragm of your pelvic floor. Diaphragm of your pituitary gland, the the Turkish off the top, sorry. I have not had enough coffee this morning. And it sits up here. So all of those diaphragms have to be aligned. But as you get those diaphragms working, some people say use the term jellyfish. It's almost like the jellyfish, all the diaphragms lift up.
Do that, yeah.
All the diaphragms don't there. That's a whole developmental thing, but it's good. But you can see why you want these working. It's not just your hands, it's everything. My hands feel tingly and I haven't even done all the work. So once I do all of that sort of strengthening work, we then do all the dexterity work, you know, the church fingers and all of that. But put your boards and everything down and just do that little thing we did at the beginning, our Google eyes. Take your fingers up. It's still a struggle, but you have gotten a little bit better. So we do one
I feel
hand.
like that's my wrists working.
Yeah, it is your wrists, but we can't unload your wrists until we unload these joints.
So if it's gotten worse, does that mean I've done too much?
Yeah. That doesn't sound like you, Jane. So maybe.
I feel like I did like very little.
Yeah, you know, but that's the struggle of being a Pilates teacher. When I hear someone go, "Oh, I made everyone feel the burn," I'm like going, "Well, you didn't really teach Pilates then. You just taught a gym class," because it's the burn isn't what we're looking for. We're looking for the tremor of truth, okay, or the shake of shame. We're looking for that work where those little joints go. So Janie, you might want to just get your hand on the pod and just roll it forward like that.
Yeah.
Back. So you
Well,
can...
I'm going to have to go because I've got a client, but I'll watch the rest of the recording.
Yep. Janie, before you go, lie on your pod, put that between your shoulder blades. Just lie on there and just do a nice opening out, okay? Bye, Janie. You go when you need to go. Bye. So everyone, if you can, just lie on your pod if you want, just there, because I just want you to get, I've just put one there. There's one I prepared earlier. Just between your shoulder blades, because again, with your shoulders and your upper limb, there's a whole connection there with your ribs that we're needing to look a bit higher. Just lie there. Your head might be down lower than your head if it's too painful, tell me. How's that feel? And then just let your arms lay out to the side. Nice. How's that feel? So, nice. So we're just going to slide your arms up and down along the floor. If you could clean the floor, that would be lovely. Don't take it above your head yet. Just below shoulder height. So what we're trying to do is open up that pec muscle. Can you feel that? Yeah. So we're coming back to that idea of releasing in your pec. Remember that muscle I was saying that attaches to your coracoid, which is part of your scapula. Yeah, good. Nice work.
Carla, excuse me, I have to go too. Thank you very much.
Shannon. If anyone has any questions, tell me now. If not, we'll stop the recording because I know I said an hour and it's that time of morning, everyone's rushing off, okay?
Thank you, bye.
Bye. You're right, everyone's fine?
Questions?
Yep.
I feel in my shoulder feels like delicious, but I feel a little bit icky or tingling, just a little into my
in the older nerve.
Feel nice, but just a little.
Yeah, that
is it okay?
Yeah, what that might say is here. So that little pinky finger is linked to your scapula, to the inferior angle of your scapula. So what you might find is that you have maybe just drop your shoulder blade down a little bit. So you sort of, that depressing of the shoulder blade. So that's why I'd like you to do this lying down. And when you lie it on there, you'll sort of go down and up. So what we're trying to do is give your scapula just that little bit of opportunity to sort of pendulum, okay? Because that ulnar nerve can be trapped here at the elbow, or it's often trapped right at the scapula. And so if there's still a problem, can you send me a message and I'll give you another exercise.
Okay, okay.
But go and lie on there and just do that as well. Thank you. And I'll send everybody the recording soon. Bye.
Bye bye.